Alrighty, what's up everybody? It is I, your tribal metal god, Peter Joseph here for video number 2 on your getting close to late, Monday night, June the 9th, 2025, or for my people that are going to be watching on the replay, or my great people on the replay crew, I love you all, it is now June the 10th, 2025. Thank you all for watching right here on Metal God 669. As always, make sure you like the video and subscribe right now. Alright, as always, when we get serious, I don't usually do my long-winded intro. But for those of you who are here for the first time, and you don't know what the hell this channel's about, well, it is a metal channel. I talk about rock and roll and metal. I do have some metal and music-related videos and some unbaggings here and there on the channel. Just go back a few videos, and you'll see all that. But most of the channel, I'd say about 75% of the channel, is tribute videos to the faithful departed in the world of music, movies, sports, TV, and whatever else. And do not do them for clout. If you think I do, get off my channel right now and go fuck yourself. But that's that. If you can't understand the tribute channel from some other channels, then you need a life. But that's pretty much all I'm going to say about that. So if you're here for the first time, well, welcome to the party. And check out my videos. But if you're into music, then, like I said, go back a few videos and watch all those videos. I have concert footage, I talk about music, and some album reviews here and there. And more to come later on. So we move on with that. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, last couple of videos been tribute videos, of course. I did do a Hall of, Rock and Roll Hall of Shame induction. We right now the inductees for this year's class. I already mentioned that, so go back a couple of videos for that. But we lost a few people over the last month or so. But today, well, earlier today, I should say, if you're watching this tomorrow. But anyway, yesterday we lost a rock and roll pioneer from the, well, most of his music was in the 70s, early 80s, and didn't really listen to much of his music, but, you know, he did play a part in the funk rock soul fusion, and that man is SLY Stone of SLY and the Family Stone. He sadly passed away earlier today at the tender age of 82. He's a widely inventive musician and singer that uplifted crowds but faced personal demons later on, like any normal musician would. But we'll talk about that in a minute. If I can get... Okay. Alright, ladies and gentlemen. So he smashed boundaries of rock, pop, funk, and soul. And the cause of that was a prolonged battle with COPD and other underlying health issues, according to a statement by his family. Now, if you don't know what COPD is, basically it's like lung cancer, and, you know, he did a lot of drugs and smoke and stuff like that. Alright, so the family said in a statement, and I'm taking this from RollingStone.com. Not from Wikipedia. If you think I take it from Wikipedia, you need to get a life. Anyway, as it says in the statement, and I quote, "It is with profound sadness we announce the passing of our beloved dad, SLY Stone of SLY and the Family Stone. He passed away peacefully, surrounded by his 3 children, his closest friend, and his extended family. While we mourn his absence, we take solace in knowing that his extraordinary musical legacy will continue to resonate and inspire generations to come." So, if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't get the funk, rock, fusion, and, you know, throwing a little soul here and there. that we got in the late 70s, early 80s, when I think bands like Chic and I would say African Bambaataa too, but in a way that brought like real funk, but and some other, not you don't really hear a lot of funk music, right? Nowadays you don't really hear it. I mean, I would say maybe Bruno Mars brings a little bit of it into his little repertoire, but you don't really hear much of it today, but like I said, Bruno Mars maybe in some ways with his music, but I don't listen to funk music at all. I listen to rock and roll, metal and stuff like that. But anyway, we move on with that. So the family added that Stone recently completed the screenplay for his life story. That's pretty nice. A project we are eager to share with the world in due time, with due course. At the peak of his success, when he had hits like Dance to the Music, that's a great people, Dance to the Music, and the ever popular Everyday People, which was remade by that group that sang Tennessee. I can't think of the name. Oh, it's escaping me. I'm a metal god, I should know this. And a DJ, I should know this. It's escaping my freaking head. I was gonna say Tribe Called Quest, but it's not them. Oh, I can't think of the name off the top of my head. It'll come to me probably like after I finish this video. But anyway, so that song, where high on the charts, a widely inventive musician and singer presented a glowingly optimistic image in step with the times, bringing together black and white audiences, uplifting crowds with electric shows, but the unpredictability that was the core of his genius gave way to a long decline as his personal demons destroyed what he had once been. So, he was a pioneer, but like the article says, he had a ton of demons back in the day. Now we get that. A little bit more backstory with Sly. And Sly, real name is Sly Stewart. You would think it's Stallone, right? Yeah, absolutely. Sylvester Stewart is his name. He was born in Texas in March 1943. He started making music with his siblings as a child. The Stewart Four, with his sisters Rose and I'm going to have a problem with this name. Vieta, and his brother Freddie made their first single On the Battlefield in 1952. Moved to California with his family as a kid. Later became a familiar voice in the Bay Area's music scene. Oh, we all know about the Bay Area music scene, don't we? Metallica! LA sucks! So, as a staff producer at Autumn Records, he put together hits like Bobby Freeman's Come On and Swim. He also produced Somebody to Love, not that Queen version. That was by Grace Slick's pre-Jefferson Airplane band, The Great Society. Remember, Grace Slick joined Jefferson Airplane like in the 60s, early 70s. And then Jefferson Airplane in the 80s became Jefferson Starship, or just Starship. And now it's just nothing, pretty much. Because we all know Marty Freeman, but another guy. That's a different guy. Marty, the original Starship singer, he passed away, sadly. I think Grace Slick is still alive somewhere. But anyway, move on. But her first band was The Great Society. He was also a DJ, Sly Stewart. He was also a DJ on KSOL and KDIA, that's in California, and later noted that in radio I found out about a lot of things I don't like. Like, I think there shouldn't be black radio, just radio. Everybody be a part of everything. Hey, I know that. I found out a lot of things I don't like, which is YouTube. No, I'm just kidding. And other things we really don't want to discuss, but we just, we get that. Alright, his own band, Sly and the Family Stone, came together over the course of 1966 and 67, and was a really crazy family. It was Sly and his siblings Rose and Freddie. They were joined by cousins Greg Errico and Jerry Martini. That's a great name. As well as bassist Larry Graham and trumpeter Cynthia Robinson. Their breakthrough hit was 1968's Dancing Music, like I mentioned before, in which their voices and instruments, high and low, each took a turn in the spotlight, which you rarely saw in the 50s and 60s. A racially mixed band with male and female members. Playing soul-infused rock together was a rare sight at the time, a utopian vision of what pop music could be. So, in those days, pop, you didn't really get a lot of good pop music, but mostly it was like Elvis and the Beatles and the early days, the early days of Pink Floyd with the instrumental stuff they did back in the early days. Experimental rock, if you want to call it. But anyway, they had hits like Life, Stand, not that version by R.E.M., Everyday People, Hot Fun in the Summertime. I almost said Hot Fun in the City, but it's a different song. And they were all anthems of solidarity and enjoy that acknowledged the pain and frustration at the times and encouraged their audiences to transcend. And their soaring performance of I Want to Take You Higher at Woodstock 69, the good one, not 94, well, really not 99. 94 was good. 99, the Limp Bizkit one, that really pretty much killed Limp Bizkit altogether. They're back, but they're not, the same Limp Bizkit we all know and love, but because mostly the the Gen Z people, the millennials, the people from, I say millennials from 2000 on, know about Limp Bizkit pretty much since Nookie and, all the other great hits they used to have. But as we all know, Fred Durst still sucks dick, and Limp Bizkit still sucks dick too. But that's not from me, but that's from Zach Wild. I used to like Limp Bizkit. Now I care less for them. Go Cobra, anyone? Hate that album. Religiously, I hate that album. And then their comeback album, Limp Bizkit, still sucks. Not a great album either. What could have been? Anyway. So they did I Want to Take You High at Woodstock 69 was like Triumph. Where did my notes go? There we go. Excuse me. Was a triumph of that era, and the band finished the decade with an enormous hit, Thank You, Verlaat be myself again. Whatever that is. Whose joyful funk maxed the existential horror and lacerating sarcasm of its lyrics. That's a weird as fuck name. Just like Thank You without the parentheses in it. Like this is the second part of the song in the lyrics. But anyway, their next album was supposed to be called The Incredible and Unpredictable Sly and the Family Stone, a sideways reference to Sly's habit of blowing off gigs. I heard on Sirius XM and the 70s channel stories about him and not making it to gigs because he was that shit. He finally released his masterpiece, There's a Riot Going On, in late 1971. It was recorded with help from Bobby Womack and an early drum machine, which was bleak, scarred, wobbly. Sorry. I read that wrong. An early drum machine. It was bleak, scarred, wobbly vision, the soured remains of the 60s dream. And Questlove, we all know Questlove from The Roots. I think he says in Rolling Stone in a couple of months ago. I think that's kind of his help the medicine go down approach. Yeah, drugs. He paints a very dark lyric, paranoia, self-confessional thing almost in every record, but it's so happy. Shiny, happy people. Yeah, we'll get that. They disintegrated over the next few years. Sly sank deep into drug abuse, became even more erratic. He was a mess. He married Kathy Silva on stage. How do you get that? Is amazing. You get married on stage. That's good shit. I've seen people get proposed to on stage at various rock concerts, and then people screaming out, "Hey, you're not gonna work!" You know, stuff like that. And they're like, "Don't do it!" They do it anyway. Anyway, he did that on stage in front of 20,000 people at a sold-out Madison Square Garden before it got remade so many times in 1974. But within months, the band broke up, and a marriage, which produced a son, Sylvester Jr., where he didn't go anywhere. His then wife said, he beat me, held me captive, wanted me to be in a menage a trois. Damn! I feel like it's almost like Ike and Tina Turner, almost. You know, I beat the fuck out of her. I don't know about doing menage a trois and shit. I gotta watch the Tina Turner movie again. Or read the autobiography, but... Damn! Beat the crap out of her, held her captive against her own will, and then wanted her to do, you know, menage a trois, whether with two girls or two guys, who knows? Creepy. So she said, I didn't want that world of drugs and weirdness. So she left him in 1976. Hey, that's the year he was born. He had two more children, Savette and Novena Carmel, or Carmel. Tomato. How much more I got this? I got a lot. No, I'm not gonna go through everything. Anyway, he tried to make one more attempt to make a comeback. In 1976, he had an album called Heard You Missed Me, Well, I'm Back. And 3 years later, he came out with Back on the Right Track. That was in 1979. And then he came out with a half-finished 1982 album called Ain't But the One Way. He never released another album of new original material despite persistent rumors that he was working on a magical record that would get his career back on his feet. Collaborated with George Clinton of, we all know where he came from. George Clinton, Africa Bambaataa, and, you know, him. On whom he'd been a huge influence. He turned up for guest vocals on records by the Bar-Kays, not Barclays, but Bar-Kays and Earth, Wind, and Fire. He was arrested for cocaine possession. Where's Tony Khan? No, kidding. Cocaine possession multiple times in the 80s. Served 14 months in a rehab center, beginning in 1989. Damn. Between SLY the Family Stone's 1993 induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Shame and a 2006 tribute to them at the Grammys, for which SLY appeared for a few minutes with an enormous blonde mohawk. I mean, he was huge. And then he kind of wandered off to wherever he went. He over vanished after that. He was interviewed by Vanity Fair in 2007, where he claimed he had a library of new material, 100 and some odd songs, or maybe about 200. And then in 2011, the New York Post reported he was living in a camper van in Los Angeles, California, and that same year he released I'm Back, Family and Friends, mostly lackluster new re-recordings of his classic 60s hits that kind of went nowhere. His great 1960s and early 70s records inspired Miles Davis, Herbie Hancock to incorporate electric instruments and funk grooves into jazz. Prince and the Red Hot Chili Peppers and the Roots have all covered his songs. There's another band, I still can't remember the band. They did Everyday People, but I don't know. Not the same song, but it's a different song, obviously, but... Anyway. A little over a year after the release of his autobiography, Thank You, a documentary, 2005's SLY Lives, aka The Burden of Black Genius, re-examined his legacy. The film was directed by Questlove, focused on how SLY's legacy and influence continues to reverberate through popular music, along with how SLY carried the weight of that influence personally until it became a big burden. And Questlove told Rolling Stone, quote, "My intent was always to use SLY Stone to tell our story, my story, D'Angelo's story, Lauryn Hill's story from the Fugees, Frank Ocean's story, a lot of people, when they talk about blowing it, a lot of times the fear of failing or the fear of returning to where you came from, which is the very bottom, causes you anxiety about your future and then causes you to kind of fuck it up. And I know many bands that had high success and then next thing you know, album sales not doing pretty good. What do? Get rid of the ingredients, or just call it quits. Then they try to, go away for about 5, 10, 15 years, Van Halen. And then they come back, make a semi-decent record. And then, you start maybe going up a little bit, and then you just go back down again. Tour, album sales go back down. Touring, not making any money on tours, not many people at the shows and shit like that. I mean, if you look at Van Halen, not even Van, well, I guess you could say Van Halen because the last album they came out with was really the Best of Both Worlds Volume 1. With the little extra ingredients from David Lee Roth, and then took them about 10 some years to make their new, what's that album called? I forgot the name of the album. It's not Van Halen 4, obviously. That song where Wolfgang and Eddie were on the album because Michael Anthony joined up with Sammy Hagar. Form Chicken Foot and everything. That album wasn't even that good with Dave. That was like the last Dave album. It wasn't, like I said, Michael Anthony wasn't even on the album because he wanted to do stuff with Sammy because he's good buddies with Sammy. Not that he hates Dave or anything. But that album kind of went nowhere. And then pretty much after that, they went on tour just doing all the early Van Halen classics. And Sammy goes on tour and has been doing pretty much a mix of his Van Halen stuff, which I think is the better half. I mean, not to say anything about early Van Halen, like Van Halen 1, 2, but I think Sammy really took Van Halen to the stratosphere. And if it wasn't for him and him and Eddie clashing, could have maybe had Van Halen 3, not by Gary Cherone, but what could have been. And then you think about Guns N' Roses, when their last album before they went on hiatus for a while was the Spaghetti Incident, which isn't a really good album. That's basically a covers album which sucked. Even though it had one maybe 2 hits on that album. Then they went away for a while. When is the new Guns N' Roses album coming out? We never knew. Slash does his own band. He was in Velvet Revolver with Duff McKagan and the drummer, not Steven Adler, the other, I forgot his name, the other drummer that joined him after Steven got kicked out. They were doing those their bands, like I said, Velvet Revolver and some other stuff. And pretty much Axl Rose was kind of out of the limelight a little bit. But then they come back. It took 10, 15 years to make Chinese Democracy. We heard some snippets of it on LimeWire. It was out on LimeWire. Well, what's this? New Guns N' Roses. And then finally the album comes out, which wasn't bad. But then it was Axl comes back with a different band with Bumblefoot and Buckethead. It was what is this? This ain't Guns N' Roses. And then Slash is doing his, Slash's Snake Pit, Velvet Revolver later on with Duff. And then finally they're back, at the reunion. I mean, Steven Adler was on a few shows and shit like that. But, they have some new songs out, but I haven't had a new album since, I think since Chinese Democracy. I could be wrong on that, but they're just going on tour. Guns N' Roses always on tour, but they're really playing the hits we all know and love. A few from Chinese Democracy, not many, and a few new ones they threw up. But it's not on an album. It's just EP stuff. But But anyway, I mean, you get where I'm coming from, though. But that, you know, get all the success, and then sex, drugs, rock and roll down the drain, and then you're gone for about 10, 15 years, and then you're trying to make a big comeback, and then you're like, oh, he's back, yay, give me a hug, everything's good, and then everything starts going back downhill again. I mean, J.K. Lee, is a prime example. He had a big high with Ozzy, up until, he had 2 great albums with Ozzy, Bark at the Moon and Ultimate Sin. And then, pretty much after Ultimate Sin, I don't know if it was Sharon who kicked him out. Probably was, because Sharon is. Sharon kicked him out, brought in Zach. Zach basically was the second coming of Randy Rhoads. I still think J.K. Lee's a very underrated guitar player. Because he was in Badlands, and then he had his other band, Red Dragon Cartel, which I don't know what's going on there. Had one album, and it was decent, not great. It went on tour. He's playing Bark to the Moon, which he still had. I don't even know if he still hasn't gotten those royalties for the songs he actually wrote on Bark at the Moon. I think some on Ultimate Sin. But, damn it, Sharon, give him his money. But after he got kicked out, J.K. Lee was so out of the limelight. He was gone for like almost 20 some odd years and didn't pick up a guitar. People thought he was dead. And all it took was freaking Eddie Trunk and that metal show when they had that. Whatever happened to, J.K. Lee? Somebody reached out and found J.K. Lee somewhere on a gutter, I think. I don't know where, in Los Angeles, I think. Didn't pick up, he goes on the show, you finally see him, he looks actually, a little bit better than he used to be. And then he came out with Red Dragon Cartel, and talk about that. He did mention a great band in this moment, too, because he did a song on Blood called You Gonna Listen. He played a solo on it very well. One of 2 Ozzy guitarists that played on In This Moment's albums. The other one, Gus G, on the album before Blood, which was Star Coast Wasteland. He played a solo on a song called The Road. He played the first solo. I think he played both solos. I'm not sure if Chris Howard played the first one or the ending one. I have to ask him about that because I'm good friends with the guy. But yeah, who knows? Zach might be on an In This Moment album because or maybe John Holmes, the guy that replaced Zach for like one album. Even though Zach played all the parts on Osmosis, but he was in the tour for like a few years, and then when Zach came back I believe he came back for what did he come back for? Back to Earth, I think. Yeah, it had to be Back to Earth, I think. I think the album was when Zach came back to the band and everything. But it is what it is. But yeah, you have all these people that have had such success in like the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Great bands as well. They have high success, and then next thing you know, they make an album that just completely sucks. I mean, Motley Crue is another example. When they were high, and then they kicked out Vince Neil, they brought in the Secret Ingredient to make their self-titled hit, and that album tanked so bad. The tour wasn't great, and then they kicked him out, bring back Vince, and then they made the Saints of LA album, and a couple albums later with that. Then they kind of retire. They retire, and then Mick Mars has to leave because of his condition, and they bring in John 5 for a tour, then a new album, which really kind of went nowhere. They still kick ass, but, Vince barely can sing nowadays. He's singing off key, like, donuts, Not the same Vince Neil that was, like, cool back then. Like, a few years ago, he was fat! He's still kind of fat, But, like I said, I'm talking a little bit off topic, but not so much off topic. I'm kind of bridging the gap there, but. So yes, you have your highs, and then you know, and then next thing you know, you're hot. You could be the greatest rock star in the world, and next thing you know, and in between, you're doing drugs and shit. And then you think everything's okay, and then the next thing you know, you're on stage and some shit happens. Pull down your pants, you're fighting with your guitar player, Perry Farrell of Jane's Addiction, talking to you, dumbass. So, but anyway. So let's get back to, finish up here. The film featured commentary from George Clinton, Shaka Khan, D'Angelo, Q-Tip, and Family Stone members Larry Graham and Jerry Martini, among a few others. Jerry Martini said, "I feel like a piece of my heart left with Sly. We were best friends for 60 years. That's a very long time. He credits me with starting the band, but it was his musical genius that made music history. He will always be in my heart, and I will continue to celebrate his music with the Family Stone. We extend our sincere love, condolences, and prayers to his children and family. Rest in peace, my dear friend. We greatly be missed." Yeah, that's pretty much all I gotta say about Sly Stone of Sly and the Family Stone. But he had a good career, and just an amazing singer, great band. You always hear him now. You can always hear him now on a Sirius XM radio, but that's that. I think there's another band who sang Everyday People. I'm just trying to look it up on them. I think there was a cover of it. Oh, that's it. Arrested Development, I think, did Everyday People. I believe they did. I know they sang Tennessee, obviously, but, there's another, I know they did another song called Everyday People, I believe, but I don't think it was the same actual one by Sly and the Family Stone. Let me try this. Let me see. Oh, People Every Day. Well, they changed it, but it's not the same song, obviously. But no, just wanted to get that. All right. So anyway, that's all I got to say about that. So rest in peace to Sly Stone of Sly and the Family Stone, a great man, a great pioneer. And if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have people like George Clinton, African Bambaataa, the funk rock fusion of later people, like maybe a little bit of Shaka Khan. But, that style, led to people like George Clinton. And, even today, like I said, maybe a little bit with Bruno Mars, but you don't really hear that funk, pop, rock thing in major music if you don't hear it on the radio. You have some people like indie bands having that funk bass, and that funky bass lines and shit. Not much today, that's that. But anyway, as I always do in my rest in peace tribute videos, I want to give a toast to the faithful departed, to Sly Stone. You, sir, rest in peace, sir. You were a great man. I hope you're making good funk rock up there in heaven with all the other people in that great concert hall in the sky. And we got that. So that's my video. Thank you all for watching. Leave your comments down below if you like. Check out my other videos. I did one about Norm, Norman Peterson, we all know, George Wendt, I did a video about him. And that's pretty much all I gotta say about that. So check out those videos, and I'll leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, and all that good stuff. But as I said, I leave you all, have a great rest of your, if you're up in the West Coast, or about to go to sleep, have a great rest of your Monday night. And to everybody else watching this video, happy Tuesday. Hope you have a great Tuesday. I'm going to pre-record my Raw review for all you people that love wrestling. I'll be doing that on my main channel, KillDemon669. So check that out. And then tomorrow, we'll do a couple more videos. Do our official TNA Ring of Honor review. A little bit late with that because I've been so busy with work. And I'm really busy this week too with... Got a lot of doctor appointments. Even going into next week, I got doctor appointments up the wazoo. But, you know, gotta get them done because I'm trying to get healthier. And it's just, you know, my body's not cooperating so much. So I gotta go to physical therapy. I gotta go to mental therapy. I gotta go to my psychiatrist to get more pills. You know, it is what it is. It's, you know, the way it is. But, you know, because I have a bad neck. I have a bad neck. I have a bad back. You know, because I suffer from levorscoliosis, which is a, it's not scoliosis. We all know what scoliosis is, which is really bad, but levorscoliosis is like like a little, not a back disease per se, but, you know, my posture is a little bit off, so I'm kind of getting a hunch. I'm not the hunchback of Notre Dame. I'm not getting that way, you know, but just like, you know, wake up, my back is killing me, my legs are killing me. I think I have some form of arthritis. I think I might have a little bit of fibromyalgia too. I know I did get diagnosed with myalgia a couple of times, so I don't know. I have to ask my pain management doctor about that. I will see him this Friday because I have to get more shots on my back, and I have to get another epidural. So yeah, I'm a mess. But I'm still a good, sexy, fucking beast. So no matter if I'm 48 and I'm breaking down, physically and mentally, I'm trying to make the most of my life, you know, and try to get healthier as I get into my 50s and, you know, hopefully my 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, I ain't going anywhere yet, whether you people like it or not, so... But it is what it is. So I got a lot of things going on this week. I'm going to try to get everything up this week. NXT review, somewhat blockbuster from AEW. 4 hours again this week. Ugh. It's going to be a long week, my friends. And it's, you know, this coming weekend's Father's Day weekend. So I'm going to be taking my dad out to lunch and, you know, with me, my mom, the missus. I'm going to be taking out my dad for a nice, good lunch. And then... I'll just chill after that, and then we'll see. But other than that, it is what it is. So stay tuned to my channels. Please hit that bell and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'm gonna go pre-record Raw in a little bit. A wild, crazy, epic Raw. Probably one of the best Raws in this year. I think it eclipsed the Raw after Mania, but we'll see what happens with that. So I'll talk about that in a little bit, and then I'm going to bed because I have to get up in the morning to go to work, and I gotta go to the doctor. I gotta go to the doctor tomorrow afternoon. So, you know, light day of work over the next couple, except for Thursday, but well, actually, yeah, pretty much all this week is light work. I'm like, you know. Don't have to go in for a long time, so. But it is what it is. And then I finally get the weekend off. This weekend was busy because I was watching, you know, Worlds Collide and Money in the Bank. And then yesterday, finally had a day off to just sleep in and relax for a while. Not so much. And then today begins the big, long week of torture. But we got that. Alright. Alright guys, I'm out of here. Thanks for watching. Rest in peace to SLY Stone of SLY the Family Stone. Great man. Great music. So, if you haven't heard his music, go on YouTube and put his name in and give it a listen. If you don't like it, listen to it. You do might. If you don't like it, you might like it if you listen to it. Give it a chance at least. But if not, well, that's that. Go listen to your mumble crap. But that's that. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. And until next time, God bless you all. Take each day as it comes, because we never fucking know when it will be our last. Live life to 100 to 90%, but the other 10% we don't know yet. So that's that. So God bless you all. Be safe, be well, and I'll see you guys next time. God bless you all. Peace.